covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim Bernier.
Welcoming in fans of the 50-yard fight, this is the Inside the Walls podcast. Zach Kyleman in here, as always, to lead you into this show. It is episode 92 of this show, but not just that. It is also less than a week, less than 3 days at the time you're seeing this, until we hit arena football action. The real thing is back, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in 5 years. And it'll be in the National Arena League. Well, yeah, 4 or 5 years. We'll count 5. It's been a minute. But we're going to get the real thing back for the first time in quite some time. And we get to lead you in. And finally, after a long offseason, one that we've been waiting for, I think one that me and my co-host have been waiting for the most in recent NAL years, it's finally upon us in just a few days. I'm going to bring him on in now, my good buddy, pal, co-host who knows the most, the guy that is pushing all the buttons and creating these amazing graphics. It is Jim Bernier joining me for the show. Jim, welcoming you on in. Glad to have you on as always. Dude, we are less than 72 hours away from NAL action, from arena football action, and actually saying it's arena football this time. I know there's some folks that they do bring that up. The last few years, yeah, it's not the true game. You know what? It is the true original game this year. No one can say that now. We're the only league in the nation that runs the original 1987 version of arena football.
Isn't it beautiful, though?
It is gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Like, the Nets are back. You see videos and images from Albany, from Orlando. Little birdie told me this weekend for Jacksonville. So arena football is finally back, which is cool and exciting. And one thing that inspires me, inspires you covering this league and this sport is the joy of the game itself. There's other leagues out there that play the similar rules, but they don't have the nets. The nets is what makes this sport what it is. And within 72 hours of the recording, that is for us, but for the people who are listening right now, you're under 24 hours for the kickoff of the NAL, which will be Saturday, multiple games. We have 3 games going on this weekend. And this is the first time in 7.5 months sent to us by Skylar Lane, a listener of ours and a friend of ours, that we're actually going to be breaking down and talking about actual football games, not previewing, not speculation. Toe hits leather at 7 o'clock Eastern this weekend for the National Arena League. Week 1 starts tomorrow.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. Can't wait. Yeah, less than 24 hours. I was overcompensating the time. I'm thinking I'm still on NFL time frame, still on spring football time frame, some of the stuff going on right now, maybe USFL time frame too. But no, actually, yes, even more exciting. Less than a day. Good Lord. Man, now it's really hitting me fast. It's coming at me. I'm processing it now. But yes, we have 3 exciting football games for the 2023 NAL kickoff that you're definitely going to want to tune into. Of course, all on the NAL's own YouTube channel. All 3 broadcasts will be up, and some goodies we've heard for improvements for the broadcast are going to possibly be showing off week 1. Some stuff that I've been calling for. I'm going to wait and we'll talk about it if that does get executed. But from what Jim and I have been told does happen, I will be a very giddy boy come week 1's recaps, to say the least. So keep that in mind. But no matter what, you want to tune in. These guys do a great job at getting quality broadcasts across the board and great announcers across this league. Plus, it's arena football, the real deal. You're going to want to tune in, everybody. And we're going to be previewing all 3 of the matchups with two of those matchups, of course, being new teams in the league. So we're going to give our opinions on how we think they'll fare in these leadoff games. Orlando, San Antonio, and Odessa, Texas all get to host week 1 games for the NAL season.
It's the opening week. There's a saying out there, it's beginning to look like Christmas. It's beginning to look like arena football around these parts. So, again, 2 new franchises, but one of them's hosting, the other one is not.
Hmm.
So it will be intriguing to see what Odessa does when they host Jacksonville.
Yep.
But at the same time, it'd be what Orlando would do, and you know what San Antonio would do for home games because they've done it. So yeah, it's I'm excited, and again, how can you not break down arena football without talking about the game, talking about its past, and talking about the expectations of the future?
Absolutely. And
And what? Go ahead.
no, I was just saying it's say what a better way to lead in to
Hmm?
kick some things off if you are not saying that right, because hey, we are getting to break ground on again bringing back the original game week one and getting to see that kind of be brought back into the fray once more. All right, Jim, here's the deal. We have these three games. We're going to do this throughout the season. The game of the week will get saved for last. We're going to end it every time with the last game of the week. Hopefully we get you an interview with a
Hmm.
player from the said game if we can do that, as we are kind of reformatting some things we learned previous years. We keep retooling the show. That's how we work here on Inside the Walls. But we're going to kick things off with our first game this weekend. All of them are at the same time frame, by the way, 7 o'clock Eastern or 6 o'clock Central, depending where you're at. As you can see the graphic on screen, it is Fayetteville, the Mustangs, one of the new teams, a brand new organization, straight from a expansion. They are going to be coming in. They will be traveling to Orlando to take on the Predators on that nice new turf field
Hmm.
as well. Brand new turf field. Looks gorgeous. We've seen in some photos. Thank you, Nancy Morris, if you listen in, for contributing that to the community pages. Jim, here's the deal. Fayetteville, we've had our thoughts on them for a minute. There are some solid veteran players. Obviously, they got James Summers recently, so they get to add on to that roster very nicely. Orlando, you and I, a lot of promise. A team that I think, if things come together with Herky Walls, could be seeing some pretty good returns for a season that is going to be hopefully a rebound. What do you see as keys to this game with Fayetteville traveling for their first arena game in their history and their first road game in their history, going to the jungle?
Well, what's going to be unique about this situation is Orlando has no game film on Fayetteville, none
Yeah.
at all. Fayetteville has all the game film on Orlando because a lot of the players from Orlando are returning from last year. Lonnie Outlaw, Brandon Fuentes, Joshua Jenkins, and you got a couple of receivers down there that are returning. But it's a question mark down in Orlando is the quarterback position. In Fayetteville, we have familiar names. We have a James Summers, we have Kendrick Gings, and we have Rakeem Cato. Um, my if I was a coach, if I was Coach Walls, what should I do in this game? Watch film from previous Orlando games from your team. See how Rakeem Cato acts. And Mr. Zach here, you're the one that told Cato, calm down, let the game slow down, and you'll catch up. But for Orlando's sake, I think based on the rosters and how we've seen this team in the preseason and the people who have stayed currently on the roster, no, there was no big time cuts in Orlando. The keys of the game for me for this one is Fayetteville. They right now have the better quarterback right now because Cato has the more experience. But a lot of questions on that defensive side of the ball. You already know Kendrick Ging is going to get the ball. You know James Summers is going to get the ball. They're going to score, and on the other side, you're going to have the guys in Orlando are going to score. Um, my key to this game is very. It's going to be very shocking, ladies and gentlemen. Special teams,
Oh,
deuces, and who has a better special teams unit. And Orlando has a more experienced special teams unit in my opinion, because they have multiple returners that have done it last year. Fayetteville, there's still a lot of question marks. They did a lot of signings this a couple of weeks with Shy Hill and with James Summers. There are a lot of questions in Fayetteville. We'll know more about Fayetteville in week 2, week 3, and week 4. But right now, I'm leaning towards Orlando here based on what we've seen last year and what's returning. They just have more core players returning this year and for this game than Fayetteville. But then the other question I can mention, especially our fans and listeners out there, um, Jake Sheehan versus Cato. Sheehan shined in Green Bay last year for the IFL, but
Mm-hmm.
Cato has more experience in the arena game, so you're gonna have a battle between those two players. So it's a lot of question marks. Again, like my favorite saying I'd say all the time, the monk. These two teams will clearly be in the muck early, and just based on how the season progresses. But for me, I'm I'm leaning towards more of the experience side. If Cato learned from last year, taking the dump off routes, slowing down, doing better reads, not just chucking the ball downfield to the your fast receiver, to be more how what Mason said in the past episode, nickel and diamond, be more precise and reading reads faster, except for just no one's there to throw deep. If Caleb is more mature than last year, we've seen quarterbacks make massive steps from being below average to MVPs in one season.
I got one
One
in
off season.
mind.
Yes. Everyone knows, and I misspelled his name on the last episode.
Yes,
Um,
you did.
but the thing is I laugh about that. It's because no one could understand me because I was talking 10 times fast. Apparently, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard the last episode. I do apologize. But the question I had to you, Zach, about this: does Cato make that Castronova type of leap from last year, and does Fayetteville have enough on their roster to outlast possibly a Orlando offense that could be very potent and deadly this season?
I think for me, this is so the two-pronged question you're proposing. Does Cato take that step? I think he has the potential to take that step. I'm not going to say that he will. That's very much up to him, as like we talked last year, and I will say it again. And even something we can reiterate from learning from Sam Castronova's progression in his rookie season. Slow down, process the game a bit more. Yes, it's faster, but you can still make decisive and at least controlled decisions. It doesn't always have to be a scramble fest. Credit Sam Castronova, to me, is the exception to the rule. He just is a magician. I don't know how he does it, but man is just finds ways to buy time. But still, he even knows that you can't always do that. That has led him into trouble too. Cato, that led him way too many times into trouble and to killing drives last year for Orlando. When he would get the ball out, when he would decide what he wanted to do, they could move down the field like anyone else. There'd be halves that Orlando could keep up with the best in the league when Cato was on the field before he was released. And then there'd just be times where it was a complete ghost town on that side of the ball. So my thing is, you hope if you're Fayetteville with Cato, you see the potential. You're hoping he takes a Castronova leap where it's like, yeah, sure, I can use that escapability, but I don't want to use it every play. I still want to be decisive as a pocket passer. I still want to get to my guys as possible, because you can win arena games by doing the 5-yard, 6-yard check down routes that get guys in open space, because you have that capability to kind of get more chances to juke and fake out defenders in the open area of the field if you want, or kind of skitter on the side if you're a receiver. So, you can do that or be more decisive and just start running. There are chances. I know it's not completely like indoor football with that, where that can happen, but there are times, Sam did it himself last year. You can definitely get out of the pocket and fake out the jack linebacker and get downfield if you find an opening. So, it's up to you. But decisiveness, and I think just a little bit more of a calm head, can lead him a long way. My main question with this game is going to be, I think it's what, to me, will decide as to how much we see Rakeem Cato improve is, he's got to go against that Predators defense. And he knows last year there's some players on that side of the ball. Speaking of pressure, Freddie Booth Lloyd's back, dude. Again, we've talked. Dude, he was leading in sacks until he was knocked out with a season-ending injury later in the season. Brandon Fuentes is an all-NAL style talent. Josh Jenkins, we know, is an all-NAL style talent. Both are secondary options. And then you have Lonnie Outlaw, who is, even though he is more a receiving press, dude is a large pole in the middle of that defense at the jack linebacker position. The guy can definitely be in the way. So you have to get around that. True test, I think, and a good true test defensively for them. To me, if you can get and solve Orlando's defense and get by their stars, I think that, there is a potential to show that you can that you've taken that step. But, that's the question. I think, to me, if I'm looking at this one, the Preds have a lot more, I think, that you can have that shows answers to what Fayetteville offers compared to what Fayetteville has in terms of, can you respond back with your weapons? Obviously, Kendrick Ings is a very talented individual. He is not going to be the only guy that is a receiving weapon, obviously, but he'll be the one that I think a lot of defenders are keying in to make sure he doesn't destroy you in games. They didn't keep Donovan Raspberry, so they are very confident. Coach Gunnings is very confident in his roster as well. So, that's a veteran receiver that I was wondering was going to be making an impact. I think that Fayetteville, it's going to be a test of, can you beat the Preds defensively? Because it will be a shootout then if you can do that. If not, then Fayetteville's got an uphill battle, which is something you don't. If you get a possession or two behind in this game, as we talk about, kind of that we talk about that possession battle where it's like at half, where it's going into that second half, you can't keep up touchdown for touchdown. That's where you fall into trouble. Fayetteville's got to avoid that, and we'll see how good that defensive unit is that Coach Gunnings built up. Because that's one thing I'll give him a little advantage on compared to Herky Walls. Herky does have coaching experience, but Gunnings has been doing this a lot longer than Herky has, from what I can tell. So that is something, at least coming in. He's going to be preparing his guys at least for this game and should have a little bit more under his belt for tools he can go to in his arsenal.
Experience of coaches does weigh into a major factor. But the one thing that you've mentioned about Fayetteville, about who can outlast who, or who has the offense to keep a pace. I look at Fayetteville, and they have two receivers I really like, James Summers and Kendrick Ings, of course, and Cato. We talked about Cato. One thing I see at Fayetteville is they've added some late pieces. They've added Vaughn. They've added Shai Hill. Defensive sides of the ball to try and contain certain aspects. And what I've noticed around the league is a lot of the new quarterback signings are very mobile quarterbacks. So they're adapting the Castronova type of style quarterback play. The factor is, when you look at the two different quarterbacks that could be playing this game, Cato and Sheehan is a mobile quarterback, but he has dang good accuracy. And he has one of the best highlights last year up in Green Bay, where he scrambled around for like 30 minutes and chucked the ball deep, Hail Mary to end the game, and won the game on the Hail Mary. Still, if you haven't had a chance, Orlando fans, go watch that highlight. When you see that, you're going to like this kid. It's going to be intriguing how Fayetteville contains the offensive power that Orlando has. If Jake or Jack is what we think he is, if he brings the same mentality over from last year, I give Orlando a better opportunity to not just pull away in this game, but winning by a couple of possessions, because I think they have more offensive power. Now, more experience on the other end by the coaching side for Fayetteville, but I think Orlando has the overall more experience throughout their roster, especially their defensive side. They have a very how can I say this without offending anybody? They have a very sneaky good defense, honestly. With Murray, to the name, that dude's a freaking wall right there in the middle of the field. There's a couple of guys on that defense that you go, yeah, I think if certain things go certain ways for Orlando, they can be very competitive this season. But Amway Center, first home game. Last time they were in Amway, they set a record of the most attended game in the NAL last year. From what I've seen, ticket sales are going well. They've had a couple of good community events. I think Orlando has a good outing, but one thing is about this type of matchup, you have no idea what the other team is. We do know a couple players from Fayetteville, but we don't know what their mindset's going to be, what type of caliber team they will be entering the 2023 season, and we will find out. Literally, I forgot what time, 7 a.m. East, or 7 a.m. Yeah, 7 a.m. 7 p.m. Eastern on April 8th at Amway Arena. Almost at Amway. No, it's Amway Center, not Amway Arena. Amway Arena. The old building was Amway Arena. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we'll do our pick'ems. A new format of the show. Usually people, it's like, we do pick'ems right after games. No, we're doing pick'ems at the very, very end after the game of the week. We'll get to a pick'ems because new format, new way of the show.
Right, a little more concise, I think, is best we put it. Maybe it doesn't seem to get a little muddled up for you, the listener out there. You probably wanted to hear keys of the game across the board, and then we can slam you with all three at the end. You can go, oh my gosh, he
Yeah.
did this. But yeah, we're gonna. That's another change format thing for our previews this year. So keep that in mind as we go through. As Jim has shown, we're going into our next game on the docket. The Sharks, they are traveling out west to northern Texas to take on the West Texas Warbirds. Well, yeah, West Texas, Northwest Texas, I'll call it. But you know what I'm getting the drift. It is the West Texas Warbirds out in Odessa, Texas, out in the oil fields out there. Going to be going to the hangar. Going to see Top Gunner out there. Going to be quite the intimidating presence. I know he will be. He's already trying to gun for that best mascot in the league award, and he's been kicking it on social right now as of late. Look, the Sharks, as we know, Jason Gibson's unit been building up with plenty of veteran guys and some I'd say some diamonds in the rough that we've seen that could have some potential to pop out this year. One key signing that we've seen. So Connor Blau, of course, getting picked up from Oregon State, but they picked up an even more veteran arena football quarterback recently, and Ed Crouch, who has been around the scene, been in the Fan Control Football League. He's been in the CIF with the Wichita Force before they were out of the CIF. And both instances, he balled. He is very much I would say a very good escapable type of QB, as you were hinting. That's becoming kind of a normal thing in the NAL as of late, is finding QBs with some legs under them. But he's got a cannon. Dude knows how to sling it, and he knows how to run an arena offense right out of the gate. So another little twist for the Sharks. As for the West Texas Warbirds, a team that is coming in, has a good mix of veteran NAL guys, mixed in with a lot of their veteran guys that have been leading, as we will see, of course, an undefeated history for the Warbirds. It's going to be tested really big in a way at home against one of the founding members, well, now really the founding member left in the NAL, in the Jacksonville Sharks.
This game, unlike the other one we just mentioned, this has a lot of interesting storylines and a little banter between both. One mascot, the other one's not dealing with the banter; he's ignoring it. But that's Chum for you.
Chum's chill.
Yes.
He's back in Jacksonville. He's just doing his own thing.
Yes. And we did our prediction show this past week, and since our prediction show, Jacksonville has added 2 new quarterbacks. Maybe one. I think we did one after Connor was signed. But the addition of Ed is a great addition for Jacksonville. Now they have 2 quality quarterbacks with a Jason Gibson style team. Again, Gibson said multiple times he wants a younger guy to grow the team around. But one thing that I can preach here and what I can preach everywhere else is Jacksonville. If Jacksonville follows the same narrative like every other Gibson team, Jacksonville will have the best defense in the league. Because if you look at past teams that Gibson coached in Columbus, he's always had a top defense, number 1 defense, or number 2 defense in the league. Defense wins championships. And I just said that a lot of Albany people up north are like, oh, he hasn't won anything yet. We know. But in this game, it's Coach Gibson's debut as a Sharks head coach after spending a decade and a half in Columbus. It's different. For the fans of West Texas, for the fans of Fayetteville, Columbus and Jacksonville was the rivalry in the NAL. It's odd not having them in the league. But now Gibson's in Jacksonville. Which is unique about this game is that there's a fun fact is that the Jacksonville Sharks are 11-3 all-time against new NAL franchises on their debut game. 11-3. The 3 losses were New York Streets, the Massachusetts Pirates, and the Carolina Cobras in 2018. And 19 was it 19 for the Streets? Yeah, 19 was the
yes
Streets.
Yeah, it was a season just before we had to take one off, unfortunately.
But intriguing thing about this game is we look at Jacksonville, you look at their talent, people are like, we're the quarterback. The question, a lot of talk here in Jacksonville is who's the quarterback going to be? Connor, I think, is going to be the starter. Ed's going to have a lot of playing time. But there are a couple of key guys I want you, the fans, to listen to. Keep an eye, especially your Sharks fans. A couple of key people. Shakai Holiness, watch out for him. DN, again, Marvin Ross, there's a veteran back there, and Jabari Gorman is another guy in defense. Um, Jacksonville's defense will be far ahead of the offense early in the season. The offense will gain and catch up as the season progresses. In this game, again, like how we mentioned before, in between Orlando and Fayetteville, there's a lot of question marks on West Texas' side. Don't know a lot about West Texas, but unlike Fayetteville, West Texas does have film. So there is some film you can watch where they play other leagues, and from a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of former fellow Shark players watching, is every time we watch a highlight from West Texas, we're like, man, the teams that they played are so inferior. They dominated everyone. And that's not, taking a shot at West Texas. It's legit. Look at the scores. 62-12, 72-14. There's no competition. This is a massive step in competition for West Texas. You're going from playing single A baseball to Major League Baseball in the arena game. And Jacksonville's experienced. They have a good, solid defense. They have some quality veterans in the defensive side. And they also have some good receivers, especially for West Texas, especially for Jacksonville. And watch out, West Texas fan of Darian Townsend. The guy's a beast. We have him. I think Mason had him as the Specialist of the Year award, preseason award this year.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some weapons in Jacksonville. And the question I have for you, Zach, is Gibson's debut versus the unbeaten streak that is the West Texas Warbirds. Which one are you more looking forward to, the debut or the unbeaten streak?
Ooh, man. You got me really with a tough one right here, because honestly, this game quite has two things I very much have been waiting for all offseason. Is A, we get a brand new team in this league, which is always exciting to kind of gauge the roster that they put together and seeing where they're at with West Texas. And again, West Texas is coming in, like San Antonio in the early weeks last year. They brought in a lot of their original guys from their previous league, so or at least previous iteration. So that to me is fascinating. I'll be honest, it's tough for me to pick this over Gibson, because I love Jason Gibson as a coach in this league. He's one of those ideal arena guys that's trying to grow the sport. I got to pick West Texas for the sake of, I just am that fascinated to see how well the rest of this roster of guys that we have some limited film on, but haven't known as much about in the NAL talent pool, or at least as talent level, that we'll get to see how they react. So that's where I'm sitting at. Yeah. Luckily for West Texas, they do have a veteran QB in Daniel Smith that they're going to be leading, most likely going out with. Most likely, this is projections, people. They don't have the rosters right away. And then most likely, they'll have Kerry Starks on their side to anchor the defense. So they have veteran guys. They have receivers that we like out there on the edges. I'm most fascinated with that because, again, how do they stack up against one of the steadfast, most competitive teams that has been one of the more successful arena football teams in the country that you're going to be going against in Jacksonville? Like, talk about a great litmus test for a team that comes in, and credit, Chris Siegfried did bring this on them when he did announce that in August that they are unbeaten in their lifetime. But, they're unbeaten in their lifetime. This will be a chance to see, how much do we stack up with these guys right now, toe to toe, and I like the attitude that Coach Tate Smith brings to the table. He reminds me a lot of a Jason Gibson, where it's like, I trust in my guys. I look for those guys that are hard-nosed. They get in and they fight for every man on that 25-man roster. And I'm expecting a lot closer of a game than I think maybe some people think, just because I like Coach Smith's attitude, and I think that he brings that, and he expects no BS from the people he brings on the field. And that's for the same with the rest of that West Texas organization. From what I've learned just talking with those people out there, with the Curtis family, with Coach Smith and all of them, like with you and I talking with them, they very much expect the best when it comes out there. They have a reputation. They're a championship team. So, it's going to be an entertaining game. That part to me is the most fascinating, because it's a great test to go against a coach that now with, a much larger scale operation gets to put together his vision. And he's going to probably, if I'm projecting, probably going to have a pretty veteran QB with some solid stud players anchoring on that side for the Sharks. Good thing for the Warbirds, though, they at least get to host in the hangar. They aren't going to the Shark Tank. This would be a lot different of an appeal if it was the Shark Tank starting out week 1 instead of the hangar.
Of course, that's an awesome way to kick off the season, is introduce to people the Odessa of arena football, and especially one of the prime arena teams, either as Jacksonville or Albany or Orlando, someone with has history in arena football. One of the questions is I see from fans, and especially from both fan bases, is what do we expect in this type of game, or what can we look forward to? If I was a betting man, I project this game to be one of the lower scoring games in the league this weekend. That doesn't mean both offenses are in bad shape. It just means that Gibson's trying to figure out who West Texas is, and West Texas is just going by the countless of hours of film that they have from Columbus and what they have from Jacksonville, so they know what Gibson might bring. When you look at a team like West Texas, you look at a team, you want to look at the founding pieces. What type of, like what Gibson says, he likes to build up the middle. Strong safety, a strong linebacker, or a strong quarterback. You look at West Texas, there's a lot of question marks there, and it's not because it's a disrespect to West Texas. It's just you're being introduced to the National Arena League, and a lot of the listeners and a lot of our listeners on our show don't know who you guys have. And it's basically going to be like the same treatment San Antonio got last year. And what a difference a year makes. San Antonio's clearly from us and from a couple of people we've talked to, they're one of the top teams in the league entering 2023. But it's not just a disrespect factor. Now you're going to have that mentality from West Texas about we're being disrespected, we're being overlooked. I think it goes through. I think that is the way how new franchises are in new leagues. They have that, oh, it's us against the world, or it's us against the league, because no one knows it. San Antonio went through it. But you look overall, if you want to compare the two franchises at this point, San Antonio is, again, we didn't know the quarterback situation. We did later, but there were individuals on San Antonio team that came out of nowhere and shined that we found, like Khalid Rashad's a great example, was a credible find. Nico Creamer was another credible find. There are individuals that will shine. I just look at this game. So you're going up against a Jacksonville team who's been there, has done that, and is one of the founding members of this league. And you're going up against a coach that has way more experience in this upper level of football. It's a battle of newcomers, the excitement of being the home team, maybe the best mascot in the league right now based on trash talking, exposure, trash talking, tickets giveaway, trash talking, social media, talking about Top Gunner. I love that dude. That guy is amazing. That the birth or the rejuvenation of an organization in Odessa into a new league, taking on a prominent name. I just hopefully the fans in Odessa are listening to this show. Get your tickets now. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be an exciting game, and you'll be introduced to arena football, and you'll be introduced to one of the founding members of the league and a traditional team who's been playing arena football now for 14 seasons since debut in 2010. So it's gonna be exciting, and the key, like it's just one of the games I'm looking forward to the most, not because it's the Sharks, it's because of West Texas. But going through the keys of the game of here, honestly, if West Texas has a chance to win this game, they have to at least put up 40 points minimum. They have to. Hopefully, Jacksonville's offense is struggling, but if they can't get over 40 points, Jacksonville's going to win this game. I think Jacksonville's defense is legitimately the thing. And a lot of fans are like, 40 points is a lot of points. Yeah, not for an indoor game.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a good target. And think about this too, like with Arena, we're going to have the Nets. Like the thing is, the Nets, they speed up the game, and they're supposed to help with increasing scoring as well. So 40 points to me and to you should be a lot more of a reasonable target, even more so than past years, because you're keeping the ball in bounds, because you should have some more returns, and you'll possibly also have more mistakes off the Nets too that could cause some quick touchdowns. I remember 2019 having a few games that changed favor just because someone couldn't get a ball rebounded off the net. So that's completely possible. That happens frequently. Bar ball, it's a feared term. Hopefully, announcers will keep that one in their repertoire when they're using that, because it's very much one that you're going to get used to by the end of the season, without a doubt. And I think you're right. West Texas, I think it's going to come down to really just really much like you're saying, who can get there and who can be, I think, taking the most opportunities. Because I mean, the Warbirds, like I said, they have the previous year's defensive player of the year on their side of the ball. That's definitely going to not make life easy for whoever's behind center, whether it's Connor
Agreed.
or Ed. And I mean, they've got some guys that, like I said, that are from their previous regime. So we'll see how well tested they are. If they can slow down Jacksonville and Jacksonville comes out like you have projected, and they are also that case, we might have the defensive equivalent of a arena football game, which, it's not always, doesn't always happen. But I mean, there are times where you see a score where two teams, they're happy if they make it to 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
So, it all depends on how these guys come out slinging. We hope for of course, a more of a gunslinging affair, but in that case, I am wondering. To me, I am wondering if this will become one of those kind of slugfest games where it's just going to be whoever can just get across the goal line enough will pull this one out.
I think that's going to happen as well. And of course, for all these games this weekend, one of the key factors is consistency and see who it doesn't cause penalties, because it's week one. There's going to be some ugly possessions out there with false
Yes.
starts, illegal motions, jack out of the box. There's going to be some games that like every player is going to be a flag. I expect that, and I expect the fans to revolt and get mad and protest about the referees again. It's like an every year occurrence. I expect that. In this game, out of the three games, I think this is going to be the most defensive one. But it's kind of odd that when I say that 40 points could be the measuring points, like I can say 42, 38 type of game, is it's just because I know what Jacksonville has on defense side of the football. They're going to be good on the defensive side of the football. More my question is Connor the dude, or is Ed coming in and becoming the dude? Still question marks at quarterback right now, but I'm more confident in the quarterback position right now for Jacksonville than I was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think just the fact that you brought in Connor, who is, I think someone that with the Oregon State background, kind of coming out there, so at Pac-12 side, you know, as much as I think you could see him if it wasn't for the fact Ed Crouch is available. I think you do, but you got to go with Ed Crouch. I'm sorry. The experience the guy has, he's had several years in a row as of late in the indoor scene. That's going to translate very well here for arena. He's got the escapability already. Again, just go look up some CIF games that he was in 2 years prior with the Wichita Force. Trust me, you'll find out very quick that this is a QB that you want to have that is an all-around weapon. If he needs to escape out of the pocket, he's going to make defenders want to pull their hair out. If he is going to toss one up, he's going to put it in range for a guy like Darian Townsend to snag it down, or Jordan Smith, who was in the FCF with him during the time in 2021, as well as for part of 2022. So keep that in mind. There's that bit of connection. FCF, it's not always the same team. They did draft teams, and every now and then Crouch and Smith weren't always on the same team, but they did have some interactions with some games. So keep this in mind. That's important. Connections are really vital here for any level of the sport, but you got to go Crouch. Maybe if things aren't going smoothly later in the year, you go to Connor and you feel confident because, Gibson, I understand you and him have talked, and, Connor's a kid that he has eye on, but you got to go with Ed. There's too much evidence. You got to go with Ed for week one. I don't see how they would do it with both them, especially being as new as they are in recent transaction wires. You got to go with Ed.
I think he sides with Connor early, and if something starts being shaky, I think Ed comes in, and then.
Okay.
But again, I'm not Gibson. I'm not the one that makes the call. But I do think that they have two younger quarterbacks. I think fits the system more. But then how I mentioned earlier is that Jacksonville's defense is going to be a defense that's going to keep them in games until both quarterbacks get experience and get younger. Maybe a returning of a wide receiver in halfway through the year will make Jacksonville even more explosive. But right now, I'm more of a as a fan, not as a person that's analyzing this game. As a fan,
Right.
if Jacksonville stays afloat for the first 4 or 5 weeks until that experience kicks in, and then they have a home stretch in the middle of the year where they can feast on, then I'd be very, very confident. Now, will I be disappointed if Jacksonville starts like how they did last year? I think yeah, yes. I think they'll be if they start 0-3, 0-4, you're putting yourself in a deeper hole this year compared to last year. But I don't see that. Jacksonville last year, I've mentioned multiple times, they can score on anybody. They couldn't stop anybody. I think this year's version of Jacksonville, they're going to stop mostly everybody they play. Uh, there's a couple of teams out there that will still move the football and score because it's arena football. And some of them will be a little bit better than others. But my mindset is stay afloat, defense hold the team down to the offense gains experience, and then the second half of the season, the final 7 games of the season, final 8 games of the season, you see that push for possibly going after that 2 seed, and if the 1 seed is there, go after it, or maybe try to recover and try and save and get into the playoffs to be in the top four. But yeah, overall, I think that's how Jacksonville will go. But as an analyst person that looks over from non-biased opinion, if Jacksonville cannot get their offense situated early in the season and they do get down the hole, there are good enough teams in this league that Jacksonville could be one of those teams in the muck that stays
Hmm.
in the muck and doesn't see the 14 playoff.
Right.
There is enough quality. Carolina, and Orlando, San Antonio, and Albany could very well get in the playoffs. They have teams that can do that. And from an analyst point of view, the quarterback position is still the question mark in my opinion, but there's talent at that position where if they do catch on and they do gain experience and do become more acclimated to the system, and Gibson's defense still lives up to the bill like his past defenses have in Columbus, Jacksonville will be a threat at the end of the year. Now, for West Texas, if I was a West Texas fan, you better get Jacksonville week 1, then later in the year, because later in the year you're going to be in Jacksonville, and then actually we play I think no, that's right. West Texas plays Jacksonville 3 times, so you'll get Jacksonville again back in West Texas, but you rather get them now in week 1 when they're trying to get everything situated than week 9 and I think week 12
You
when
like
you
to
play them
steal
again.
one too,
Yes,
and I mean that really is what I think is vital for all these games. For the most part, you want to steal one. Each one of these teams, they got to match up
hmm
at least one more time through the year. So you want to at least get that season series
correct.
in your favor to get things off the ground. I'll tell you one thing: if West Texas does come, credit, it's in their own house. But if they come in week 1 and they do upset and they do at least upset Jacksonville, because I think a lot of people have Jacksonville as the favorite here.
hmm
Just because they are, a steadfast organization, Coach Gibson, the talent
Absolutely.
that's on both sides of the ball. If they upset Jacksonville week 1, that puts the league on notice that West Texas, you know, as advertised, came to play. And then things get a little more interesting, I think, for how we evaluate the Warbirds. Still, I think it'll be fun next week just doing recaps and talking about, okay, here's what we loved, who shined, some guys that we maybe had on our
Yeah,
radar but
and
didn't.
we'll
So
have
like
numbers.
that's the thing.
We'll
And
have
we'll have
stats.
and we'll have numbers and stats too.
We'll be more analytical next week, folks. Yeah, it's harder to preview some of these games where we don't have stats to go after. But yeah, it'll be if West Texas does pull off a win, that will be huge for that organization and for that city because that will help that city organization sell the product to the fans of Odessa. Say we have our winning program. Our unbeaten streak is still here. We're 1-0. We just beat the Jacksonville Sharks, who are a prominent, dominant team. And I'm not saying dominant like they own everything, but they do have 2
Hmm.
championships in this league. That shows that they belong in the field. Now, what happens if West Texas go out there and it's 72-71? They lose, but they lost by 1 point. The excitement there in that game will attract fans of the what arena football is with the Nets. It's entertaining, and it's like there's some organizations in the past that they never had winning organizations, but the game brought so many people. This is a great
Right.
example for Odessa to take control, saying we belong in this game, and you go toe to toe with Jacksonville. That's a great chance to introduce your city, introduce your team, introduce your franchise to a new audience that's going to watch. So Odessa people and fans of Odessa and West Texas. One thing about Jacksonville, when they're away from the Shark Tank, your YouTube feed will have about 5 to 8,000 people watching because that's all the Shark fans watching. So you'll have eyes on the product. So hopefully you have some great TV and YouTube coverage, because if not, you're going to hear from Shark fans. You won't hear from me, but you'll hear from Shark fans, because I think we're spoiled in Jacksonville, honestly. Again, we're not the only ones. Albany has great TV coverage. Orlando
I
has
was gonna
great
say,
one.
I think
Everyone
this
does.
year, I think this year alone, I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna start. I might start doing broadcast rankings, and just because you know, obviously I get it. This is not the same as big time television. I'm aware, but the NAL as of last few years has made a significant push to say, look, we want to make the best possible broadcast the game could find. And they've done a great job. I think the last few years since we've done this show, they have elevated broadcast quality across the board to be much better than it was when we first started doing this. Because I
Yeah.
seriously, there were a few broadcasts when we first started doing where I was like, this cannot be the standard. And now I'm like, every team I look at where I'm like, okay, I expect like a standard to be pretty good, solid quality for a stream on YouTube, to where I know there's 3 teams that can do television quality broadcast, which off the top of my head, that goes especially Jacksonville, Albany, and Orlando. All 3 of those guys generally do television quality broadcast where I'm like, I could put that and see that on TV. And I would say that's a good quality for TV. So that's the standard you want to go for, is those 3. And we'll see how the others 2 go. Again, it's a new year for 2 of them. I just hope that you see their peers and you go, okay, we want to match what our peers are doing.
Yeah.
Take that advice from your peers. Try and match as close as you can to something like that.
And it's the little things of excitement and what look forward to: the game, the presentation, the community, and enjoying that the kickoff for the season is here. And
Yes.
and with that, we do have one more game of the week, or inside the walls game of the week, is the Carolina Cobras traveling to the San Antonio Gunslingers. But before we break down that game, we were joined by none other than the quarterback himself, former Shark, former Washington Valor, Arvell Nelson.
Yes, today on Inside the Walls, for our continuing interviews we have from around the league, we have a special guest from the San Antonio Gunslingers over in San Antonio, recent signing and a big name quarterback in the arena space. It is Arvell Nelson, quarterback for the San Antonio Gunslingers and quarterback last year for the Jacksonville Sharks. Arvell, welcoming you on in the show. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to have you on. Glad to have a player of your caliber, someone who's been a championship MVP, of course, in his career, and someone who has made an impact pretty much wherever he's gone. How are you doing, man? How's things? Pretty quick turnaround for you, but going in with this signing, it's only been pretty fresh since you've kind of been on the transaction
it has
wire.
been, man. All is well. All is well. First and foremost, man, I want to give glory to God for giving me the opportunity to come out here and play the game that I love, showcase my talents. It's been a quick turnaround. I signed the week of leading up into camp, and we just broke camp, 2 week long camp. Day what's this? I don't even know. It's hey, been here 2 weeks. Feel like it's 2 months, man. But I'm excited, man. Game week, man. We ready to roll.
Yeah, we're thrilled to see you out there on the field. Last year we were especially thrilled to see you back in the space, with the Sharks, getting back in the swing of things. I mean, want to touch back, of course, in your AFL days. I mean, you're a championship caliber QB. I mean, one of the craziest turnarounds in any team's history with the Valor, going from basically down in the basement to championship in a full swing.
Right.
Do you still think, I mean, obviously things are ahead, but I would love to revisit that, just kind of maybe a bit of that season. Cause I mean, people don't really realize that, the Valor were, credit, it was a 4-team league at the time in the AFL, but
Yeah,
they
it
were like
was.
down and
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
People had no expectation for them that season back in 2018.
Right. And I actually was up to play that year. Ended up playing in the AAL because, like you said, it was only 4 teams and everybody had their starting quarterback. And I had offers to come in and back up, but I'm just thinking like, man, I'll put my time in. If I'm coming in, I want to compete. You know what I mean? I don't want to come in and play backup. So I set it out, and then I ended up playing in the AAL that year with Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
and we was having a pretty nice season, and then got the offer to go up and play in Washington. They were struggling at the time, I believe, 0-7 when I got there, and but it was an 0-7 type of team. You had veterans that was on there, and some young guys that can really go. They was just missing a quarterback. They had went through a couple quarterbacks due to injury, and I came in and played my role, and we ended up making it happen.
Yeah, no doubt. And to reiterate for folks out there, championship team with 3-15 win-loss record, but it matters most when you can just get in and you can finish the deal
It's
off.
all about playing great football at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody made the playoffs that year, which was the good thing. And once the last few weeks, we really started to turn that corner and click as a unit. I think we had lost to Albany, I believe, by one, or it was a close game. Then ended up beating Baltimore, and then got Albany in the playoffs. And then played them for 2 games, 2 tough, hard-fought games too.
Mm-hmm. Well, now here's the thing. Jim probably wants to kick things off because, I mean, hey, you got to come in last year, and I'll let Jim get this next question. But, I mean, you came in for the Sharks. Sharks were reeling. Comes in, instant impact as well. A lot of good production right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And, Jim, if you'd like to speak on that or whatever you please, go right on ahead.
Speaking of that, Jacksonville was 0-4 last year, couldn't do anything. And you come in and the offense becomes one of the most explosive offenses in the league with Devin Wilson, with Miles Kelly, with Rob Jones, and with Solomon. And you, for me, knowing you from the AFL days and your time in Richmond, I was like, when I saw you hit the transaction wire last year, I'm like, okay, we're going to be a threat. You came in and it looked like you didn't even skip a beat. Like it looks like you were just came off the street and bam, you were full experience. My question is to you, now that you're in San Antonio, you don't have to wait 5 weeks. It's week 1 this Saturday against Carolina. Different preparation, or is it just, in your opinion, new team, new organization, but now, except for coming in halfway through the season, you can start off with that hot streak like you did in Jacksonville when you got here last year?
Well, for me personally, definitely a different preparation, because last year I was really coming off of no type of training. I was off the couch, literally off the couch, working a job, coaching.
Still pretty dang good.
You know what I mean? And just jail with the guys. That's credit to Coach Burley up there in Jacksonville, great offensive mind. So with him, he make the game so simple, and always give you an outlet. Whatever the defense do, you always have an outlet. So it was pretty easy to just plug into his offense. But this go around, I'm actually with the guys. We went through camp together. We eat together. We meet together. So we gelling pretty well. Week 1, we shall see. I feel like we ready. We've been prepared. We had a great camp. The guys are all getting along well, pretty healthy. So I feel like we're ready. Just a different preparation from that standpoint. I'm actually going into the season prepared for the season. So we shall see what the outcome this year.
Yeah, I mean, you get a little extra time now to go with your star receivers this time. I mean, last year you still had plenty to talk about with a great cast to work with alongside. Obviously,
we definitely had a great cast out of Jacksonville with Devin and Naquan Murray, Miles Kelly, and man, come on, man, that was a explosive.
It was good. It was a good offense.
Took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say.
Sure.
Rob Jones, I mean, got great guys out there last year. This year you get, Khalil Rashad, who on our show, like, we can't say enough about. Guy came on the league and exploded onto the scene last year for the Gunslingers. And you also get Philip Barnett, who has been an excellent contributor. I mean, it's got to be awesome to have that. Also, back Creator Turner in the backfield, great assets to work around for yourself as a quarterback. And plus, you're a bit of a mobile guy yourself, too.
Yeah, man. I'm excited, man. The guys is really, really taking to me. They accepted me, man, and they received me well, man. And they soaking up all the knowledge that I bring. Like I said, I'm up in Cleveland. I'm a full-time coach up in at Glenville High School, and I'm in coach mode. So when I get down here, everything is, hey, we need, and they receiving it. It's not an ego thing. Whatever you see and whatever you want, we with it. So I'm excited, man.
We had a couple of interviews with Kendrick Gaines a couple of weeks ago. We had one with Zach Brown a couple of weeks ago. Guys who were in the playoffs last year and fell
Uh-huh.
short. You guys, it was Jacksonville last year. We were right there. We were a deuce away of winning the game. Is there motivation coming in this season at San Antonio with a chip on your shoulders? Like, man, I was there last year. We gave San Antonio their all, and
Yeah.
honestly, as a Sharks fan, that's like the better team didn't win that game. I think Jacksonville played Albany. It's just Albany won the scoreboard. Is there any motivation from last year saying, you know what, I want to get back there, but this time be the guy who's hosting trophy and not, sitting on the couch watching another team win it?
Yeah, I mean that's always the goal. Every season that you come into, you prepare to be a champion.
Mm-hmm.
You don't prepare to lose. You don't prepare to come up short. So the motivation is always there. Last year was last year. It's a totally new team I'm with. Albany, I'm sure they got the core, the nucleus that they had last year, but that's a totally new team that they got up there. So it's no telling, who is who and what is what. So I'm just preparing to win every game. Right now we got Carolina up. We focus on Carolina. So we over the hump on Tuesday. Now we got to get through Wednesday, man, and we ready to roll after that.
Yeah, when we came into the show. You actually pointed out you're fresh off practice as we're talking to you.
Yeah, we practice in the evenings, man. I still got my wrist tape on. And
right.
My ice. I'm still icing. I'm 34 now, man. You got to ice after every practice.
Yeah, hey, things catch up.
Listen, bro. But I mean, I guess as a young guy, I understood that as well. I always watched LeBron and how he take care of his body, so I always was a student of the game. So I would ice after practice, ice my shoulder, ice my elbow, ice my knees. So I got an ice on my ankle, and I just took my ice off my elbow just to keep it fresh. It's not hurting. It's just to keep it fresh.
Preservation can lead you a long way. I think, Jim,
you said long season, man.
Right. You said Aaron Garcia lasted until he was like a 43 in this game.
Yeah.
Homeboy, yeah.
Hey, G played a long time.
Yeah. And he mentioned LeBron. LeBron's what, 20-some years in the NBA?
Yeah, 20 years, yeah.
I just watched a game recently, and he doesn't even look like he's aged.
Man,
like the
he beat
homeboy's still
everybody on
balling.
the court. I know exactly what you're talking about. He got the rebound, beat everybody
I'm like,
on the court.
I was like, thank God my team's in the Eastern Conference. I don't have to deal with LeBron.
Oh my God.
So I'm happy. But Arvell, speaking of this year's team, speaking of week 1 coming up against Carolina, is there anything Carolina has shown you from film that you're anticipating, especially as a quarterback? Or is it, as a quarterback, you've seen so many systems, you know what they're running, especially on the first snap?
Yeah, I've seen every defense possible. I know by alignment what you're running. It's just trying to get Lee Johnson's tendencies. Like I said, it's a whole new team, and a whole new defensive coordinator. So I'm pretty much watching a lot of old film of Lee Johnson, where he was in Jacksonville and other places he was at. So just to get his tendencies. But as far as defense, it's nothing that's going to surprise me out there. It's just tendencies, down the distances, what he like to run in certain situations.
Mm-hmm. For your side, or for your team's side here, what are coaches Shaw and Richardson preaching at these latest practices? Or at least now it's game week, so imagine some of the memos to players is maybe going to be changing up to like, look, this is what we got. We got Charles McCollum and company coming in. We got to be ready for a scrambling QB, someone that's an NL MVP.
It's game plan now. Camp was camp. Camp was to see who was who and get the particulars down. But now it's go time. So we know that Carolina's going to come in well coached. We know that they have the young guys that know the game, that's explosive, and now we just preparing for that. Nothing new, nothing crazy. Where it's like we got a game plan for it, but we understand who they are and that they can play. So we got to be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm. Any games you're looking forward to, or is it 1 week at a time, 1-0?
Yeah, I mean, and that sounds so cliche, but I'm definitely 1 week at a time. Of course, I'm going to love to go back to Jacksonville and play in that arena and that fanfare, and it's electric in that arena. So, of course, I'm gonna be excited. Probably have to bring my nerves down a little bit because I'm gonna be so ready to play. but I'm gonna have to, stay cool, calm for that game. But I'm ready for all the games, man. I love this. I love arena football. I love to just get out there and sling it. I don't care if we was playing up here at one of the local high schools, man. I'm just ready and excited to play.
How's the community been for you in San Antonio? Obviously, Jacksonville it's been now over a decade that this team's been around. But San Antonio, I think last year we saw, and you I think definitely saw come towards the end of the season, they were growing. It was definitely a quick change from the beginning of the year. Now you get to be in that. How have you been so far, kind of getting to maybe any chances interacting with fans or people that are now new Gunslingers alums kind of coming into this game?
I was mentioning that to Phil Barnett, that when we played them in in San Antonio last year, it was electric in that arena. They said early on it was kind of dull. Not a lot of people didn't know what was going on, but they had turned it around and it was electric. So I'm excited, man. I feel like we got a great fan base. I feel like the guys or the community is rallying around us. Now when we're out in the community, it's more receptive. It's more, oh, I know them guys. Hey, we'll be there Saturday. So um, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get out there and put on for the city of San Antonio.
Any pregame rituals?
Just my music, man. I like to get out there, get a good stretch and lather, whatever. I don't even know what I got on my playlist this year. I literally was just thinking about that. Like, what I'm gonna put on the playlist this year? But
I was gonna say, what are we spinning, man?
Whatever gets me in the zone throughout this week, is going on the playlist. I got a few odd times, like some Jay-Z, some Jay-Z, feeling it. A few of them that's going to make it on every playlist, but I don't have the exact playlist yet.
Okay. Well, maybe we have to follow up here at some point and see.
Yeah, for sure. Catch me Friday night. It's going to be set. It's going to be on and popping.
I love it. For you, something else that I think is fans have been, I think, embracing this, and now it's come more to reality. We're seeing the nets being put up across the league. Orlando's got them. Albany's putting them up. It's 2 weeks early, but they're getting them up. You got the play in the last season that the Nets were in arena football when arena was itself, and now we're going to see it back. It's been about 4-ish, coming on 5 years here.
Yeah.
Obviously, it impacts your game to maybe more of the crazy plays aspect for your quarterback side. But I mean, are you fully prepared for that? Have you gotten folks saying it's good to see you kind of in the playing in the arena game again, rather than more like how we've been playing more the indoor side of things last few years?
I'm excited. It's gonna bring some familiarity back to me to the game. I'm so used to having those nets out there. Last year was an adjustment not having them. I had to learn the rules about the deuces and when it's kicked. So, it was just a different feel. To bring the nets back is going to feel like home to me. Now we got to get my guy Rashad some work off of those nets. Because it can get dangerous, with him off them nets, man. It's an Iron Man game, so you got big boys running down there. Natural lanes are created, and with him, all he needs is a lane. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited about them nets. And you get the net ball before half. We could throw it off the net jump ball.
That's what I'm saying.
I had one of those in DC.
That was my next question. Is like,
yeah.
Did you just chuck it up there? It's like, whatever. Just throw it down there and see what happens.
And I think it's an art to it. I want to say the higher you go, the more it just drops down. The lower, the more it shoots out. But when you're in that moment, you're just trying to get it on the net. Just trying to get it up there.
Do you have receivers practice that, by the way, or is it more just like you take the same principles as like rebounding?
And a lot of times it's practice off of just boys just doing it, not even a plan in the practice. We just throwing it off the net, trying to catch it off. I know me and my quarterbacks used to have a competition where we try to hit the crossbars, and we have receivers down there trying to catch it. So if it bounces off the net any type of way, they're trying to adjust to how it's going to bounce. So yeah, it's definitely planned.
Bar ball.
This is not really. It's more of a unique question. Will we see Superman Arvell this year, like we did a couple last year against San Antonio? Because you went flying a couple of times against San Antonio and Jacksonville last year.
Yeah. What we talking about? Diving?
Yeah.
Well, hey, you're talking to a guy preserve the body. Now it's like, oh, I'm gonna do a super cam.
I don't think about it. I don't plan the jumps. I don't plan the dives. It just happened.
It was funny because last year you did it. You like complete Superman, score a touchdown in the flag, and you throw your hands up and like, what the heck? Then you do it again the next play. I'm like, was that just a Burley thing, or were you just trying to see?
No, that was I got to get in this end zone thing by all means.
But
So,
that's just a credit to San Antonio because that game was wire to wire, back and forth. And now
that was
on
one
the other
in
side.
the Shark Tank.
The one in San Antonio ended kind of anticlimactic, but
that was dramatic. But the one in Jacksonville was arena football, man. Was it 72 to 66 or something like that?
You scored a game-winning touchdown. I just know you scored with no time left.
Yeah, that was arena football at its best.
I know we won the game, and I looked at my debit card account after. I'm like, "Whoa, I spent that much on beer that night."
Well, no, I think the best part for me of that game was kicks. We ain't doing no stinking kicks. We're gonna run this thing right over the line and end it like that.
And that was the conversation too. Like, man, I don't want to put it in the kicker's hand.
That's the thing with quarterbacks. That's the same thing what Mason said to us a couple of days ago in our preview. Was he's like, no, I ain't letting the kicker win the game. I'm going to take the game control.
Yes, man. You have to think about all the preparation you put into trying to put the ball in the end zone, and then you get to those crucial moments and you take it out your hands. Nobody put that much preparation in and hand it over to somebody else. No. So I mean, and we got all faith in the kickers. Now, Drew is one of the best.
Yeah, he is.
Well, yeah, but you got a good one in Pearson.
I still want the ball in my hands. Yeah.
Well, that's a sign of a competitor. If you don't have that killer instinct in you, like, why you play the game, right?
Why are you playing? Why are you doing it? Exactly.
Finish the job. That's all you gotta do.
Just jump.
Just jump, you know.
Just jump.
Get that half inch. Look, the wall's there. You know, you still can hit that angle. It's okay.
Yeah. Man.
Arvell, hey, thanks for the time on the show, man. This has been a great conversation. We're looking forward to seeing you back out there again this year. Glad to have you in the NAL. Last thing I guess we want to bring up, you know, look, I mean, you got any personal goals you got? We've been asking players a lot of this. You got any personal goals for this season you want to set? You know, obviously championship is a big one, I think, for any team, but like maybe yourself, or how do you view this year for you?
No, that's the goal, is to win a championship. If we're winning, I mean, I'm doing my job. So, you know, the goal or the accolades that come with that. My focus is to win, to do whatever it takes. If I have to rest for 5 or throw for 8 or hand it off to Pierre for 6 touchdowns, you know, we want to win the game. We want to put the ball in the end zone and win the game. So I feel like if we do that, the accolades will come.
Okay. Well, Arvell, seriously, thanks for being on the show. Can't wait to see you play come this Saturday over there at Freeman Coliseum. You're going to be taking on the Carolina Cobras. It's going to be 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern time for those on YouTube. And it's going to be a blast. That should be a fun game. And it's our game of the week. So it's definitely on our list.
Okay. All right. That's love, man. I'm excited, man. I hope to see you guys. Are y'all will be in the building, or will y'all just be streaming it?
We'll be streaming. I'm in Arizona, so it's still a little stretch, and then he's in Jacksonville, so
I'm in
Jacksonville. Kind of hard for us.
All right.
I'll be at a wedding, but I'll be in Jax.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm happy to be the game of the week, man. Appreciate you boys, man.
Appreciate it.
And special thanks to Arvell Nelson for joining the show. Dude, I love this conversation. Seriously, we were talking as we were leading into kind of after the discussion type of things. You know, love to hear about kind of guys that, you know, they've been in this game for a while. And I think it was great, you know, him just hearing like he's glad to see a Nets back because it's familiar to him. Like remember, he's played AFL ball most of his career in these leagues. Like he expects the Nets. So like hearing last year, he's kind of having to make sure, okay, we're not worrying about like bar balls or like rebound passes. We're trying to do the best ourselves and worry about the fundamentals first. That was, I think, a unique part about his conversation.
Well, for me, we just had him interviewed here. For me, it really solidified that there's a group of people and players in this league, and especially in football, that love this sport. And it really isn't arena football until those Nets are there. And now the Nets are there, and you could tell how excited he is because it's home to him. And for San Antonio, you guys got a dog. He is going to help your offense explode. He helped Jacksonville's offense explode when he got to Jacksonville. He turned around the Washington Valor when he went to Washington. He made Richmond Rough Riders a contender in their league. He is a winning quarterback, and he loves the game. So, in my opinion, they got a good stud. And,
they do.
And I think if he is equal to what he was in Jacksonville last year, San Antonio, as we projected with this preseason rankings and the preview show, he's legit a quarterback that can win you a championship. And for the fans of San Antonio, especially with weapons like Kylie Rashad, Philip Barnett, and Pierre Turner, and you got a special teams kicker, like he made a joke about the kicker, they have weapons galore down in San Antonio, and they have a solid squad. And, oh, yeah, you got Arthur Hobbs down there, too. So you guys have a solid squad. And with Arvell, with his positivity, I did meet him earlier in Jacksonville last year. It was more like good game, and we never talked, but he was a genuine guy there. Devin Wilson, former teammate, said he's a genuine dude. Get him on the show as fast as you can. It's on nothing but positivity from the man, and having him on the show today is pretty cool to kick off the 2023 season. For the people of San Antonio, you guys have got a good quarterback, and with the weapons you guys have in San Antonio, it's going to be very exciting to watch. And I think San Antonio is one of those teams that can be a carbon copy of last year's Carolina team, getting out of the gate on fire, but you have a staff and a quarterback that can lead you all the way to the championship game in mid-August.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, Arvell Nelson is one of those guys, him being back in the league, you already have to put them on notice. Seriously, we talked dynamic passer and runner. Yeah, he did talk about, of course, he is having the later 30s type of sores, but hey, look, dude still can get out and be mobile. And keep in mind, I believe it's 6'5". He's a huge quarterback in terms of height. Easily can look over the line. Easily can deliver passes on a string. Yeah, he'll be deadly, and he is going to make the Gunslingers very much a hard out in any game. And as we've talked, we still project them as one of the top two teams in this league right now. So, and that's partially due to the QB room, whichever one you've spun it with. Arvell Nelson, that still keeps that threshold that high. But he's going to be great, and it's going to be a hell of a game, as we talked about with him. The fact that, as you can see on the fun facts, and it is our game of the week.
Yes, game of the week. Carolina travels to San Antonio this Saturday in Freeman Coliseum. The fun fact, even though Arvell is there in San Antonio, Carolina also has a quarterback that has experience, that's done a thing or two, has won championships in this level of football. Charles McCollum returns to the Carolina Cobras. They have a plethora of weapons there, too, with Adam Smith, with Lance Evans, with Zach, the one-man band, Brown. You got Ziegler. You have other guys like veterans like Kenny Veal. There are solid guys on that Carolina. Carolina is not – yes, they may not have Bain. Yes, they may not have Kendrick Ings. Yes, they may not have James Summers. But one thing they do have that just recently hit the transaction wire is that they have their weapon back, the Deuce Machine himself, TC Stevens. So Carolina is no pushover San Antonio. This team went to the championship game. A lot of the players in Carolina have a bad taste in their mouth from last year. New team, Coach Fuller's there. Coach Reznalo has left. It's again what Arvell said, new team, new year. But Carolina still has that that attitude, that still has that swagger from what Carolina teams from bold, and they have the guy who got them to the promised land in 2019 or 2018 and won the championship. He's back. So Carolina has those weapons, has key positions. And the reason why this is the game of the week is because of both rosters, because of the names on both teams, and because of what these two teams were last year or what San Antonio has a potential to be this year in the NAL. So that's why this is the game of the week. It's big names in the sport that we love, arena football. If you can't get excited with Charles Cullen versus Arvell Nelson, or Zach Brown versus Pierre Thomas, or Kylie Rashad versus Adam Smith or Lance Evans, um, then you're not really an arena football fan. These are marquee players that have thrived in this sport for years, and you get it week one in San Antonio for inside the walls game of the week.
Yeah, definitely the inside the walls game of the week. No offense to any of the other four teams, of course, with the two other matchups, but we had this one marked down for sure. And again, you already brought up all the points. Like I said, the star-studded talent on both sides of the ball, name and production wise, it should be a fun one. And yes, the Cobras and the Gunslingers, they've had some key changes, but like they still. We've talked about it. Even with the Gunslingers being our projected one of our top two, the Cobras are one of those dark horse teams that you saw in our own rankings. We're like, yeah, they're right there. If things can go their way, and hey, if they surprise and come out right out of the gate and they beat San Antonio in their own arena, ooh, watch out. We're putting them on notice maybe a little bit more so than we already have. And we still like the Cobras, even if they have had a bunch of retools and some key players move on or have gone to even higher up levels, like say a DJ Myers. But they still have a bunch of key guys that, this game could definitely go in their favor. It is a open contest to me.
Well,
a little
no,
bit.
I totally forgot about DJ.
Well,
That's why
weird.
I just spaced him like.
It's weird that DJ's not on this roster, but it's great that, credit. They still have to go through one more round of cutdowns in the USFL. But seriously, he's been making highlights with the Showboats. I would be surprised that man is on a cut list. Yeah. I bet he will be in that league. And hey, guess what? Fox and NBC. Hopefully, one of those guys gets wise enough and mentions the NAL in a story with DJ, because I think that man's going to be on the field catching some passes and making some plays this year. But they don't have him in the NAL, of course. But still some good playmakers. Obviously, Lance Evans. Obviously, Adam Smith. They're going to be getting a lot more bulk of targets this year, and a few more new faces should be too.
And here's a statement that might offend some people, but it's a video that you guys, our listeners, need to go find. Adam Smith, a wide receiver, has the best passing touchdown last year in the NAL, period. Go watch that video. It's ridiculous how he went in there for emergency quarterback and threw that pass like that.
That thing should be in any highlight reel for last season, no matter what. Just because the circumstance where he just comes in and like within his first few plays, he's slinging a 20-plus yard TD pass to the corner of the end zone, and everyone on the sideline going, "What? No way!"
Yeah. What's cool about this game is that this is the game that as we've previewed. I can't wait till we see in a couple of weeks when San Antonio takes on Albany, or when Carolina takes on Jacksonville in a couple of weeks, is you're going to see the kicking game. I know we don't talk about kickers, and we've just had Arvell say something about kicker. Mason said something about earlier this week about kickers. But you got TC Stevens taking on Drew Pearson this week. And in a couple of weeks, you're going to have Daniel Justino taking on Marco Orozco. Like, you having the one thing about the Nets is that it helps kickers, of course, keep the game alive. No balls kicking out of the end zone or into the stands. Where you having is these kickers are now weapons in this league, and many people don't know the rules. Deuces still remain with the Nets, Drew Pearson's last half of the season was money. Like, every time he kicked, he was hitting deuces. He basically kept San Antonio in a lot of these games last year, even though San Antonio kind of stumbled at the end of the year, and they were a threat to make almost backdoor themselves in the playoffs last year. It's because of the special teams, because Kylie Rashad was shining, because Drew Pearson was kicking deuces. And then Carolina, TC Stevens was kicking deuces with the white ball that was impossible to kick deuces with. And now we're back to the original football. Homeboy was kicking deuces a couple of years ago before that, and he was kicking with the white ball last year. I'm excited to see these kickers hit deuces and get these points, crucial points in these games, because we saw people say, "Well, deuces don't matter." Deuce is the reason
They
why.
do matter.
Deuce is the reason why Albany was playing in the championship last year, because they went toe to toe with Jacksonville, and Marco Orozco hit a crucial deuce at the end of that game that made them win that game. Deuces mean everything, and if you're looking for the Nets being pivotal, one thing about Nets is that kickers, even though in other outdoor games kickers are getting shafted, in our game kickers are what makes this league so exciting. And I think to this game in San Antonio, you're going to see two of the better kickers in our league shine, and deuces dropping like crazy. That's one of the things I was most excited. It's one of the things that me and you were griped about last year is no deuces. Like there were some games like, wow, I think we went 3.5 weeks without a deuce, and it was the longest ever. We were shocked at the first game. Like there was no deuces in week one. It's the first time ever in the league. It went three and a half weeks.
That was unfortunate, to say the least. But they have assured multiple times they have that solved this year. So we should be seeing that.
I guarantee you there will be a deuce hit on the opening kickoff somewhere.
I think to me at least, you'll see one team for sure is going to get, to me, 2 deuces this week. I think so.
So this is when we need like draft kings.
Here's why.
Like,
okay.
2.5, 3.5.
Yeah. I know. We're sounding like betters out there, but here's why I think you're going to hit the over on that. Let's just see. I think you're going to hit the over that, man, because what's the incentive not to kick after it anymore? You're going to hit a rebound net. Okay, then yes, the returns could happen. Say you score a touchdown. Touchdown returns happen in this game a lot more frequently than in the outdoor. However, your return team better be good. If you get them down near the 5, down the 10, great. Field position battle, you're helping yourself that possession. Honestly,
both teams will be good.
You have way more incentive now than ever to go for the deuce. There's no risk. You aren't pushing them up to the 20 to 25. You can decide what happens. Either you get points or you have a really good kickoff team. And I think that's fantastic. That means we're going to see a lot more deuces, I think, this year, because you're going to have guys saying, screw it. If it doesn't hit, I'm hitting the net, And if you really miss and lose a point, then, okay, you're going to probably get dragged to the sideline, and we're going to have a little chat with the coach, because remember, if you kick that bad boy out of bounds on a kickoff, sorry, return team gets a point. Don't know what to tell you. So that could also impact the game. But, like, your risk either way, if you're a decent enough kicker, it's minimal. You should be able to hit one of those nets easy if you know how to kick a damn ball. So I think we'll have a lot more deuces, even more than I say 2021. Not so 2022 because of the ball issue. I think you'll see more than 2021 in terms of an average per team.
I think so. Just a little bit, just a little, and it's better.
And it might be possible. Now, this is just me, because I'll be even more positive with this now that I'm buying myself even more in. Hey, maybe between TC Stevens, remember, dude's one of the top kickers in the NAL anyway. Drew Pearson, who came on the scene last year as one of the top kickers in the NAL, both might hit 2. They could. Because again, where's the risk? They're both very capable of hitting straight onto those nets. So what's the risk? Not really too much. Kick that thing straight to the uprights if you can. If it's a bar ball, even better. That means that it's more in your favor. So yes, there's no unincentivization to kick it inbounds inside the pads. Go for the net, go for the goalposts, and then go for the nets. If it slides the other way. I love this. And that game's going to highlight the game within the game, and 2 offenses that should, because their quarterbacks are so high caliber and accredited, should be a lot of fun to watch too if you're going to that game in San Antonio.
If you're in San Antonio, get your tickets now. It's going to be a marquee matchup, and it's going to be a home game. Then you're going to be on a long stretch that they're not in the Freeman. So for San Antonio, get tickets. Get to this game. This is a marquee game. It's our game of the week. We're excited about it. We'll tweet about it or during the games. You'll see videos of the games itself, highlights. So it's one of our marquee matchups this weekend. And I'm excited that this season's here. It's finally here. This game, I'm more looking for Jacksonville, I think, is more defensive. I think this game here in San Antonio is going to be explosive. These are 2 offenses and 2 quarterbacks that have been there, have done that, have won championships, who are very well experienced in the game. Offenses are loaded. Both teams have good, solid defenses. The question is, I think, is special teams. They both have kickers now. You got Miles Kelly for Carolina, and you got Kylie Rashad for San Antonio. It's going to be some strategy. It's going to be interesting. Coach Fuller versus Shaw. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be exciting. And this game is quite unique. And again, we'll get into the stats. We'll get into the analytics of every game as we progress in the season. As again, week 1 is just basically still a preview of the season, but we're actually breaking down games. But it's time to how everyone wants to know what is Jim's and Zach's ideas of this week. So how we're going to do this is pretty simple. Zach makes a pick, I make a pick. We'll ask the reason why, probably the score and whatnot, so forth, and then we'll get to the game of the week of the final pick'ems games, and I'll give you checking the script of what I think is going to be the outcome of the game of the week. So let's get into the pick'ems. Let's start it, Zach. You take it away, my friend.
Yes, indeedy. Fayetteville again, going to Orlando, as we have already highlighted. Remember, Rakeem Cato revisiting his former team from last year. I am going to go with the Orlando Predators. And here's the deal. It's a more veteran squad. As we've highlighted all offseason, they brought back most of their key group, sans their quarterback, who is playing, obviously, across the way this year in Fayetteville. But, again, they have a healthy squad across the board. Brandon Fuentes coming back. Again, I cannot understate how much that was a loss last year for them. That is a huge gain. Freddie Booth-Lloyd being healthy and back as well. Massive gain on the front line. I'm projecting to be the defensive specialist on the line for them, and that cannot be understated, how he'll be fresh for all those rounds already. Josh Jenkins, you got Lonnie Outlaw, who should hopefully have more of an impact. Jack Sheehan, even though we've had questions, that gentleman did sling in the IFL. I think that game can transition over to the NAL, and I think Fayetteville has a few more questions to answer than Orlando. I got to take the Preds in the jungle.
Well, here's a shocker, ladies and gentlemen. You know how I am with, quick swerves. I like.
Oh, yes. I almost forgot that this is the time of year now. We got to deal with the swerves again.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So brace yourselves, my people. Brace yourself. It's not happening down in Orlando. I like Orlando. Again, I think it's because Fayetteville is such a new team. We don't really know what they are at this point. But we know what Orlando is. The quarterback situation is still the question mark, but I think Orlando makes enough plays to win this game in Orlando. Besides, it's an Amway Arena, so take the advantage in Orlando. And if the game was in Fayetteville, I might be leaning towards Fayetteville in that one. But, yeah, no surprise here. I'm taking Orlando week 1 over the Fayetteville Mustangs.
1 down, 2 to go, and we're both on the same page. Sometimes we are all linked up. Is this a week where we are both thinking in the same mind? Great minds do think alike sometimes. And in this case, let's go down to game number 2. Jacksonville, again, traveling to Odessa, Texas to take on the West Texas Warbirds. The Warbirds home opener and inaugural home game against the Jacksonville Sharks. By the way, I did say the time earlier. That one is going to be at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central at the hangar itself over there in Odessa, Texas. So keep that in mind when you are searching for tickets for this matchup in particular. Just to clarify, I am saying the hangar, that real place. Go to the Ector County Coliseum if you're looking up for that. That's where you'll buy tickets, by the way, for your game as well. Now for the actual game. Finally getting that out of the way. Here's the deal. I like West Texas. The more I have been kind of looking up with them this offseason, I do think that there's going to be some shining moments for them this year. Do I think that they will get an upset week 1 against the Jacksonville Sharks, who did just get Jason Gibson, who has been one of the most successful head coaches in this league, on their squad, with a very much loaded squad of veterans and stars on the Sharks roster? I'm going to say no. Do I think this is going to be a good game for these two? I think it's going to be better than people expect, but I've got Jacksonville taking the road win to start things off in week 1. West Texas, I think they'll put up a good fight. I think it's going to be a defensive battle like I was hinting at in the preview. I just don't see it. I think now, especially if I'm projecting that Ed Crouch is playing, in my eyes, if Crouch plays, I think that they walk away with a win. Even if Connor plays is going to be harder for me to project. I think I'll still take the overall roster of Jacksonville, But I'm projecting Crouch, and with Crouch in, I think Crouch wins it. It's going to be a hard-fought battle, though, and probably the most defensive battle of the weekend.
Like you, I've said multiple times, it's going to be a very defensive battle. I think Jacksonville's defense is going to be one of the better defenses in the league, maybe the best when the season comes to the end. Again, the quarterback question, is it Connor? Is it Couch? I'm going to slide with Connor. So we got two different quarterbacks going. And for me, I just think the experience that Jacksonville has with a lot of the returning players coming back from Jacksonville and a coach like Jason Gibson, who is very well experienced. The talk that I've been hearing from Gibson over the last couple of weeks about this team, I think Jacksonville has the better team. I think this is a sluggish game. I think West Texas stays in this game for a long time, but I just have a feeling that Jacksonville's defense is going to make a key stop, maybe two, that are crucial in the second half of this game, that Jacksonville wins this game by 2 possessions, but it's going to be a very low and ugly game in West Texas. So I got my hometown team, the Jacksonville Sharks, winning the open opener and making it 12-3 against NFL teams on their debuts in the NAL.
That trend is in their favor, and if we were betting men, that's a statistic that some bettors might take in their research, if we were to say. But yeah, 2 for 2 so far. Sans the quarterback decision, but hey, 2 for 2. Are we going to be 3 for 3? Game of the week, as we have been hyping up, the Carolina Cobras, headed up by now new head coach James Fuller, former OC last season for the Cobras, sliding into that position, along with NAL MVP quarterback Charles McCollum back behind center at his former championship-winning team. They're going to be traveling to the Freeman Coliseum, which has become quite the hot spot for the San Antonio Gunslingers, headed up by Arvell Nelson, of course, with Khalil Rashad, Philip Barnett and company in tow as well. That has definitely been the battle we have been keeping an eye on for week 1. My thing is, if you're looking at these two, I think it comes down to the finite details and the talent level on these rosters. Who do I believe has the bit more of talent that will kind of push things over the top? I got the Gunslingers. My thing is, I think with the arena style of play, what's going to come into mind with Kendrick Ings moving on to Fayetteville, I think if Ings is here, it's already going to be a fascinating game, I think, in my own right. But I think it becomes even more so if Ings was still with the Carolina Cobras because of how good a return man he is. I think this game gets decided by special teams, and I think Khalil Rashad, along with Drew Pearson, is going to allow the Gunslingers to pull away in the end, maybe a possession or and a half or so, to where it's going to put it out of reach in the possession battle between these two. I think you're going to see a back-and-forth game. I think it's going to be offensive for the most part, but it's going to be coming down to those finite details on the special teams, especially with the Nets. This game, I think, will highlight the Nets' positives being added to arena football and back into the NAL. And the Gunslingers are going to highlight it thanks to Khalil Rashad with a return touchdown, and I think Drew Pearson with at least 2 deuces in this game.
I lost. Wait a minute, I'm not supposed to lose. Let me see the script.
What does the script say, Jim?
Well, I got the script right here because everyone knows that this lovely game is rigged, and Jim gets high-class documents.
Whoa. Hang on. You say rigged? Let's slow this down a second.
It's rigged. Kansas City was supposed to win the Super Bowl. That's rigged. The NFL is rigged. College football is rigged. It's everything. Football's rigged, man.
Okay.
I got the transcript right in my hands from Commissioner Siegfried, and it states right here, Khalil Rashad has 4 touchdowns, 3 special teams. Arvell Nelson does not throw 1 turnover, and San Antonio wins this game comfortably. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. When I mean about comfortably, I'm saying it's going to be about 17 points or more.
Did you say Khalil Rashad scores 3 special teams touchdowns?
Yes, 3 special. This script's right here, man. I have it right here. It's what it says.
What?
Yes. Checking the script. Yeah, I got San Antonio.
Though the method, I will say, is different on how you got there. I will put it out that, wow, first week,
Yeah.
We're on the same page. That's not going to stay the same, but
No.
we're on the same page. Week 1.
I actually went back and checked a lot of our records. Which is funny is that halfway through the season last year, I was up almost 7 games on you in the standings.
Wow.
7 games.
Wow.
And at the end of the year, get this, no joke, at the end of the year, after the championship game was done, you won by 1 game.
I didn't even track.
No, I gave up on tracking. That's like, let me go back and look at these pick'ems. I'm like, well, at week 8, I was up by 7. I was like, oh, there's only 3 games each week. There's some games are 2. And at the end of the championship game, you were up by 1. Because
you see how unpredictable this league is? Like,
Yeah,
the talent floor is so spread out now that it makes it like great for like trying to guess who's going to come out on top.
Because here's the thing, I went 1-2 in the playoffs. You went 2-1.
It's wild. That's wild.
Because I picked Jacksonville to beat Albany.
You did. I do remember that.
Yes, and you picked. We both picked Carolina, so that was our loss right there. But we both did pick Carolina to beat Columbus last year.
Yeah, and I
That's
remember
how we came in the playoffs tied.
And I remember the championship
Yeah.
that I don't remember. I remember picking the same trend that I wasn't sure if the Albany Empire could pull off the win, and sure enough, they proved me wrong. So there we go. But funny stuff. We got to track that a little closer this year.
It's gonna be tracked. It's gonna be like how our standings are up on the top of the screen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's the current standings in the NAL. You can put any team in a random order because everyone's 0-0. So when you're watching our shows next week, and you say, "What's the standing?" Just look up top. It stays right there.
See this guy right here. It's all thanks to him. He puts these graphics together. He puts these lovely layouts and all that. Give him credit. He does a lot to set this show up to look nice and pretty and professional. Thank you very much. You do a ton. And it's stuff like this. I love this. I love what you do with this, man.
Hey, it's fun. I love this game. These players need a coverage like what we do for the sport. And for me, it's a hobby. I love doing it, and I enjoy it, and I can't wait for this weekend. I may get in trouble for watching arena football this weekend, but
just very subtle.
But I will be watching my Sharks. I know there's be other games. I know our Discord's going to be active. I know Justin's going to do well on our Twitter this weekend, giving you updated scores and highlights. So follow us on social media, all of our platforms, In Walls Pod, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everything's there. It's going to be an exciting season. I'm happy that we finally have ended our preview talks. We broke down some games, and I know we have coaches out there, so you guys need to get more analytical. When we get stats, we'll get better. Mason will join us next week for a lot of the breakdowns to get into the actual season. He is currently going through spring football, so he'll be sporadic for a couple of episodes. But this is the NAL Kickoff Show 2023. If you're listening to this now, it's Friday morning, Friday afternoon on the East Coast. In Arizona, it's still Friday morning. We are within 24 hours of kickoff of the 2023 season, and we will be back next week.
Yes, we will.
Wednesday or maybe Tuesday, depending. I would like to have like a Tuesday, Friday, so there is a buffer in there. We'll try to do that. We'll figure it out, but you'll get 2 shows. Our recap show, we're trying to name it. This is the kickoff show. Next Friday's episode's NAL Game Day. That's the new name. No final walkthroughs, NAL Game Day. That'll be next Friday. We'll figure out the name for the first show of the week. We'll work in progress.
We'll get it all sorted out.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Friday, Mustangs and Predators in Amway Center. Again, I say everything's on Saturday. Sharks, Warbirds over there in the Coliseum in Odessa, and the game of the week, as we just did, the Carolina Cobras at the San Antonio Gunslingers. Week 1 of the NAL is here, and for you folks up in Albany, you get to watch a lot of film on everybody.
Yes, you
do. Next week, more action. It's going to be exciting. Week 1 is here. Enjoy the week. Remember to follow us on Twitter, social media. Thank you for the support over the last 8 weeks. Thank you to Arvell Nelson, Khalid Rashad, Zach Brown, Kendrick Ings, all the players that have joined us this preseason to preview the upcoming year. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Next week, we'll be heading up to Albany for the game of the week between Orlando and the Albany Empire. We will have an Albany football player on this time. Appreciate it. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jim Mernier. That's Zach Collin. This has been a hell of a show, hell of a year. Ladies and gentlemen, arena football is back, and it's back here in the National Arena League. See you guys next week. Be safe, by the way. Drink responsibly. If you see me, remember, if you see me, I survived the wedding, and I'm watching some football. See you next week.
Covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim Mernier.